Welcome everyone, and thanks for joining us for today's episode of Canal Days. As always, I'm your host Carrie, along with my co-host, founder of Historical Tours of Greater Holyoke, Robert Camus. Our Canal Days series delves into the vast collection of historical sites throughout Massachusetts, with Robert's expertise of the local history as our personal guide. Each episode, we uncover history throughout local communities, highlighting the historic landmarks and uncovering their seminal significance. Today's episode of Canal Days, we will be introducing and discussing the Knight's Corner Burial Ground in Pelham, Massachusetts. So, can you illustrate a mental picture of how the burial ground is laid out for us?
It's like a lot of the burial grounds inside of Pelham. It has a stone wall around it. Now this one's not elevated like most of them. It's not on a steep slope or near a very steep slope, so it doesn't have to get its ground perfectly leveled and protected by high soil and high walls like a buttress. So that's for that reason it's unusual. So today we're going to be talking about who Alice Baker is, a famous gravestone here also compared to other cemeteries around. So if you look at this cemetery, it has a gate, and that gate has looked from the front, a K twice, one on each side of the gate. And that K stands for the Knights who started the cemetery. It's called Knight's Corner Burial Ground. And that was put in off of money that Alice Baker gave to this cemetery through her will. And then it's a very normal cemetery, but a lot of the burials, of course, are very old. I think the cemetery probably dates from around 1830s. It's a neighborhood cemetery. A lot of communities are settled by the Congregational Church and their members, and they have one centralized cemetery near the churchyard. But after 1800, and after the Revolutionary War, and especially after 1800, they started having neighborhood cemeteries put in. And the difference is these are further away from the church itself. And that's because they had more farmers around, and they didn't always want to bring the bodies up into the central location of town, especially like a Pelham, where the geography is so steep.
Educate us on who Alice Baker is and her significance to the cemetery.
Her parents are buried in this cemetery. She is too. And for most of her life, she lived in East Hampton, but she was born and raised in Pelham. And for that reason, and the reason that her parents are buried here, and she would come here, she bequested through her will in 1937, when she died, that $2,000 would go to the construction of an iron fence or cobblestone or cement wall around the cemetery. And also have the new gates put in, wrought iron gates. And also what they did as a touch, they added in a masonry block that had her name on it. So if you go to the back wall and look embedded somewhat into the back wall, it says, in memory of Alice Baker. Now, I'm pretty sure that in 1937, when they started putting these items in there, this was somewhere towards the front of the cemetery, but you now find it towards the back. Okay, so, in likewise fashion, she also donated to the Civil War veterans and the upkeep of their graves $400. Now, this amount of money, in these terms, the $2,000 that she donated for the fence and the wall would nowadays be about $60,000. And the $400 she left to make the Civil War graves of people in the state cemetery better would nowadays be about $12,000. So she gave a lot for the upkeep of this cemetery. And I'm glad they honored her with that beautiful monument in the back in memory of Alice Baker.
And stick around, we'll be right back after this quick announcement. Are you fascinated by local history and eager to investigate the obscure treasures off the beaten path throughout the state of Massachusetts, or maybe just seeking an unforgettable cultural activity for family and friends to enjoy. Look no further than Historical Tours of Greater Holyoke, founded by Robert Camus. With over a decade of experience, Robert offers captivating tours and presentations of historic sites and landmarks throughout the state. Whether you're interested in canals, cemeteries, charming churches, or more, Robert's tours provide a unique and enriching experience for all. And that's not it. You can also schedule private tours tailored to your interests, ensuring a personalized adventure and unforgettable memories. Perfect for families or groups of all sizes, making for an exciting hands-on learning experience that brings history to life. Simply visit holyokecanaltour.org or email bobcat4214, capital B, @yahoo.com to book your private tour today. So, getting back to our episode on the Knight's Corner Burial Ground in Pelham, Massachusetts, reveal the famous gravestone within the cemetery.
Warren Gibbs, he died March 23rd, 1860, aged 36 years old, 5 months and 23 days. He probably died of oyster poisoning, food poisoning from an oyster, most likely, but his brother didn't think so. So he had a stone originally, it was put up, but his brother, 18 years after the death of his brother Warren, decided to put up another stone. So in 1878, another stone goes up, gives this: Warren Gibbs died by arsenic poisoning on that day and that age. Think, my friends, when you see how my wife has dealt by me. She and some oysters did prepare some poison for my lot and share. Then of the same did partake, and nature yielded to his fate before she, my wife, became. Mary Felton was her name, erected by his brother William Gibbs. Now, he probably died of oyster poisoning, not arsenic. There's a way of testing it. You can actually drag his body out of the ground, even though it's 165 years later. Arsenic stays in the bones for many hundreds of years. You can find if there's arsenic in his body. Probably it's not true. His brother probably thought it was true, but probably not. There was no animosity between the husband and the wife, and so this came much later. Now, this stone was put up in 1878. Someone decided to steal it about 10 years later, and it was found in the basement of a house about 10 years after the stone. And so it was put back. And then someone stole it again. And then it was found again. This time it's found in the Historical Society, I believe. And then they put up a replica stone, and the real one is kept in the Historical Society. So the one you see is not the original. It's not even his original gravestone. It's a replacement to depict what the brother thought happened. Thus, this is one of the most famous gravestones around the United States. It's not the only one that tells how a person died. It's not the only one that accuses a person of murder. There's one in Holyoke also. But it's quite unique.
And detail similarities and differences between the Knight's Corner Burial Ground and others throughout Pelham.
It's quite different in that it actually is flat throughout and natural and flush with the road. It's very similar to the Valley Cemetery, where other cemeteries are not that way. Another similarity to the Night Cemetery, to compared to the Valley, is they're both right on the edge of the road, and you don't take steps to get into them. All right, and it has no wall around it. And so thus, it compares well 2-1, but almost all the other cemeteries in Pelham are elevated above their natural surface, and they're very flat with soil to keep the coffins from moving, and the stone walls almost form like a buttress around it. And so in this case, this one is quite different, and it has some interesting burials inside of here, probably the most interesting of all, the ones in Pelham. So thank you for listening.
And thank you for joining us for our episode on the Knight's Corner Burial Ground in Pelham, Massachusetts, and joining us on our journey through the rich history of the Connecticut River Valley. We hope you enjoyed uncovering some of the hidden and overlooked marvels and their fascinating stories that shaped our past in the state of Massachusetts. A special thanks to Robert Camus, founder of Historical Tours of Greater Holyoke, for sharing his passion and expertise with us. Remember, you can find more information about Robert's tours, book private tours, and explore the Canal Days video and podcast series at holyokecanaltour.org. If you enjoyed today's episode, please like, comment, and share. We'd love to hear your thoughts and suggestions for future episodes. Thanks for listening, and don't forget to tune in to our next episode of Canal Days. Until next time.